Welcome to this video where I will be sharing with you what I have put on my PhD bucket list. My name is Éireann and this is The Student Journey, a channel dedicated to supporting you on your own application and student journey, as well as sharing some of my own. This video is clearly one of the latter. So as of October this year, 2022, I will be studying for a PhD in education at the University of Cambridge. This is set to be a minimum of 3 years. So I know that I have quite a lot of time, but there's quite a lot I'd like to achieve within that time. This PhD bucket list is obviously personal to me. It's by no means a universal checklist that everyone who does a PhD needs to complete. I'll definitely reflect on it and talk about how, I might have adjusted it as I reflect on my journey. But yeah, feel free to take any inspiration that you feel is relevant to you. So I have about 5 things that are on my PhD bucket list, and they are all very academic in nature. If you have done a PhD or know people who have, and have some suggestions about what you'd put on a PhD bucket list that isn't so academic and focused, do definitely let me know. So number 1 is publish in an academic journal. And I'm really fortunate in that this is something I've had the chance to do before, but I did it at a very difficult time. So I published some of the findings from my master's dissertation, which was about the experiences of working class students at elite higher education institutions, and I did so in 2020. So once COVID hit, I think I maybe thought I had more time and could do a few more projects, so I took this task upon myself. That being said, I was working full-time and I didn't necessarily have a supervisor or person who was able to support me in the process. That's partly my own fault. I was quite arrogant. I wanted to be the first and only author, but that didn't mean it was easy at all. The reasons I'd like to do this during my PhD are: 1, because I hope that I'll be in the habit of writing and be quite comfortable with that. 2, I hope I'll have a better support system that I can draw upon if I'm looking for advice or just moral support. And 3, it just seems like this is something aspiring academics should do, so it's definitely number 1 on my list. I'm not too sure how it will work. It could be the case that I publish some of my own findings, it could be that I reflect on my experience as a practitioner, or it could be that I support a wider research group within my department and get published through that way. Either way, it's definitely something that I will keep you updated on. The second thing on my list, also very academic in nature, is present at a conference. Again, this just feels like one of those things PhD students do, and it definitely feels more viable now that things are opening up after COVID. I've had the chance to do this again with my master's dissertation, but also reflecting on my experience as a practitioner in the field. But I'd really like to do this in some kind of broader themed conferences, so not just those related to access and learning participation, but those maybe more concerned with educational theory or even pedagogy. Additionally, I'm really interested in perhaps submitting a poster presentation. That's just not something I've done before. I do feel quite comfortable and confident speaking in public, but I haven't necessarily experimented with new ways of presenting data or findings, so I do feel like a poster presentation would be a really cool and new experience for me. The third thing on my list is travel abroad, and this definitely feels like the most indulgent kind of bougie thing to put on the list. So it is exactly that. It's a really nice to have, and I would love for my research or my teaching to be something that allows me to travel. This is not something I've done before and not something I've put as much time into researching, but I just think it'd be fantastic to do some sort of fellowship abroad or some sort of exchange. And yeah, I haven't done much looking into it, but it's definitely something I'm quite optimistic about and will do the work to hopefully achieve. Number 4 is do an internship, particularly in a new field. So as an undergraduate student who also studied education, I didn't really take the time to apply for internships or complete any, just because I knew I wasn't interested in a job in, say, the private sector. A lot of internships on offer were specific to the private sector. I did have loads of summer jobs. I did volunteer a lot, usually as a student ambassador or a mentor on things like activity camps. And I think I just did this because I knew I wanted to work in the field of education. I didn't think I'd ever consider working anywhere else, so why would I take the time to do that kind of work? I'm now at a stage where I have no idea where my PhD will take me. I have no idea what is kind of next for me, and I'd really like to use these 3 years as a nice excuse to just try a few things. It won't be the case that once I have my PhD and I'm working full-time in whatever area, that I can just dip in and out of things. I feel very justified as a student to kind of taking up internships, if that makes sense. So that's something I'm really keen to do, and I feel like I'm you know, considering with an open mind essentially. Number 5 is academic again, and it is essentially gain experience teaching. So by teaching I mean lecturing, or you know, teaching within higher education specifically. I do understand that this is much more common an opportunity for PhD students in the US, where you have, you know, much more time on your course, and there's just a higher expectation that you will teach and kind of commit to the wider university. In the UK there isn't that same level of pressure, and I think that our PhDs are perceived to be, you know, completely research based, and teaching is a thing you do on the side if you care enough to do so. So I recognise there won't be as many opportunities. However, in going to Cambridge we have the supervision system, so I feel like there will be more opportunities than at other UK universities. I have some very limited experience supervising, particularly for incoming students or doing things that are much broader, such as study skills, but I haven't had the chance to teach actual content from a course or kind of in addition to a course. So I'd love to have the opportunity either to do that at Cambridge on the undergraduate course that I did myself, which I think would be really meaningful, or perhaps at other universities as, say, a guest lecturer. There were only meant to be 5 things on this bucket list, but I want to throw in a bonus number 6, and that is just to record and reflect on my experience. Every time I have gone to university, I have tried to do this YouTube thing and completely failed, purely because of motivation and consistency, but I'm really hoping that won't be the case, and I feel really ready to kind of push through my own anxieties and I guess cringiness and just go for it. So even if nobody watches these, hopefully they're a really useful tool for myself to kind of hold myself to account, reflect on my wants, and yeah, just maybe enjoy the experience a bit more. So on that note, as I complete my PhD, I will definitely continue to record and keep you up to date on any of the things I achieve, or whether I adjust them in any way whatsoever. Again, please do feel free to comment any suggested activities you think are really important to complete doing a PhD, or any things that you want to achieve in the year ahead. Thanks so much for watching, and see you soon.